So hello and welcome back to Clem's Linux Tutorials, whatever. I haven't decided a name on it yet, but I'm going to give you an update on the How to Lutris video. So times change and the ways to do things change, and there were some things I didn't go over in the previous Lutris video, so here it is again, but updated. So first thing we want to do, obviously, is install Lutris, which I've already done. Now, the first time we run it, it's going to download and install some components it needs. This will only take about a minute or so. So anyway, now that's done, before we can play any Windows games on here, we need to, of course, set up Wine. So we go to the little hamburger menu here, and Preferences, then go to Runners, and as Wine starts with a W, it's going to be all the way at the bottom here. Well, almost all the way at the bottom. So now we just click on the little circle here, and this is where we can download some additional Windows runners. We can download the Proton Cache OS and Wine GE8 and the latest version of Wine as well. So we'll have lots of compatibility. Installing these might take a minute or so, but just let it get on and do its thing. Now we're going to set Wine GE as the default runner. You could select Wine 11 as the default runner if you like, but for me I found that Wine GE just works better. Don't select Proton as the default runner, because for some reason Proton won't create the prefixes. I mean, once a game's installed you can change the runner to Proton, but while games are installing you're going to want to use one of the Wine options. Don't ask me why it does that. Anyway, now the default options have all been configured, we can now get to installing some games. And the first way to install games is the easiest way, which we're going to do right now. So now we're all set up and ready, it's time to install some games. So first we're going to install something from an exe, and this is how you do it. Go to this little plus in the corner where it says add a game, and we're going to select install a Windows game from an executable. And in this case we're going to install Marble Blast Ultra, absolutely fire game. I believe this came out on the Xbox 360 as well. And we'll just leave this as it is because that's absolutely fine. There's no need to change that unless some specific game needs a specific OS. We'll just leave it on Windows 10. We'll click install. Now install the setup file. Okay, that looks good, so we'll go to continue. Now we'll select the exe that installs the game. So that's all good, we can just click install. It should create the prefix to put the game in. This usually takes a few seconds. See the log appear, and the installer has come up. So from here on it's pretty much what you do on Windows. So just go next, yep, whatever. Probably should read through that, but I'm not going to. And the game has already run right away. I don't know why it's done that, but here we have a Windows game running on Linux. I'm just gonna go. So here I am playing Marble Blast Ultra on Lutris.
Checkpoint.
And it even responds to my gamepad, which is also really nice. And yeah, one game installed and ready to play. Okay, so that's all good. So now I'm going to show you how to install a game from an ISO image. Now in the past I suggested Acetone ISO. Well, Acetone ISO is basically turned to crap now, and it's if I install that, it installs a whole load of bloat that nobody wants. So a much better option is GNOME disks, which I'm not going to be using either. So anyway, as long as it's in an ISO format, what we can do, or at least on the KDE desktop, we can right click it, go to extract, and extract here. We can extract all the files from the ISO. I'm not going to do that because I've already done it. You can see it right here. But before I install anything from that, I just want to give it a different name as I bash the microphone for the 5 millionth time today. I'm just going to call it Tim Disk. And as you can see, there's all the files that were in the ISO. So let's get to it. Okay, I don't quite know what happened there, but let's get to installing this game. So it's exactly the same process as before. We'll go to add game, and we'll go to install a Windows game from an executable. In this case, it's the Incredible Machine 2 Even More Contraptions. Now, as long as I've spelt that right, Lutris will recognize the name and put in the appropriate artwork. It didn't do it for the previous game, but we can but hope. So yep, we'll install the setup file, that's absolutely fine, we'll go to continue. And for the exe, it's in that folder that we just extracted. Now, what did I rename it to? Oh yeah, Tim Disk. And I think, if I remember, the setup file is in there. Yeah, it is. So we'll just do setup. Install. It's creating the prefix. Okay, we can just ignore this warning. Doesn't really mean anything. And who reads those anyway? We'll go to large install. And just look how quickly that installed. I'm not going to bother installing. Actually, I might just as well install it. No, I don't want to register. Now, we're almost ready to play this. There is one small problem though. If we go to play, you can see it wants a disk, because some games require the disk to be in the drive in order to work. We can fix that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this extracted ISO image, I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to put that in the games folder, which Lutris created, and I'm going to tell Wine that this is the disk that the game needs to read from. It's very easy to do. We'll go to Wine Tricks. Okay, we can just ignore these errors. These notifications. Okay, default wine prefix. Run wine config. And here where it says drives, we want to add that folder as the D drive. So I go to add D. Yep, that's absolutely fine. And here we just navigate to that folder that I just copied into the games folder. If I can find it. Okay, we go home. In this case, Call to Clem. Games. Tim Disk. There we go. So we have that folder selected. And just one more step. Show advance. And we change the type to CD-ROM. Now this doesn't work for all games, but this one is an exception. So apply that. Now, alright, we'll just get out of all of that. When I click play, it should work. And there we are.
Phew! Sierra!
Phew indeed. I used to play this so much back
Welcome to the incredible machine, even more contraptions.
So that's all fine and good and everything, but what about games that don't have an installer, like, this one for instance? If I was to run this, it would just run the game, it's not an installer, so what do we do? Well, first we've got to create prefixes to put the games in, and we're going to create 3 prefixes. One of them is going to be for games that we want to run on Wine GE, one of them is going to be for games that we're going to run on Wine 11, and one of them is going to be for games that we're running on Proton. And the reason for that is, well, some games run better on Wine GE, some games run better on Wine 11, and some games run better on Proton. So, we go into the games folder, which Lutris should have created by now, and I'm going to create 3 folders for those 3 prefixes. Creating prefixes on Lutris isn't the most trivial thing in the world, but just bear with me and you'll see where I'm going with this. Okay, this is Future Clem here. I've just been editing the video and realised I laid a complete egg when explaining about how to make the prefixes, so I'm redoing this part. So first of all, what is a prefix? Well, a prefix is basically a virtual Windows environment living inside of Linux. If we go into any one of them, you can see we've got the files and folders that you would expect to find in a Windows install, and that's where you're going to put your games and everything. So, I created 3 prefixes, and in these 3 prefixes, I put in games that I'm going to use specific versions of Wine. So, for instance, in the GE Proton prefix, I put Platypus 2 because that works a lot better on Proton than it does on Wine. In fact, I don't think it will even launch on Wine. Runs fine on GE Proton, and if we go to the shortcut on Lutris, that is when I can find it, we just have a little look at how that's configured. You can see that I've changed the runner to Proton. I should be on GE Proton, I don't know why it's on Proton Experimental. We can change that though. It's very easy, we go to runner options, change that to GE Proton, and yeah, there we go. If we go to the Windows 11 prefix folder, you can see there's a couple of games in there. One of them being Monster Truck Madness 2. And if we take a look at how that's configured, you can see I've set the runner to Wine 11. So basically, all the games you put in the wine11 prefix, you're going to want to set that to wine11. All the games in the winege prefix, you're going to want to set that to winege, and so on. But anyway, yeah, how do we make prefixes? Well, that's what I'm going to go into right now. So first thing we need to do is create a new folder. I'll just call it something. This is a prefix, that'll do. Now, it's not ready yet, because if we go into this folder, you can see it's blank. There's nothing in there, obviously. So now we'll turn this into a prefix. So first what we got to do is we've got to add that folder as a locally installed game. I know this doesn't make much sense, but just bear with me. It'll all make sense in a minute, or hopefully anyway. So locally installed game. Now I'm going to give it the same name as the folder. I can call it anything I want, but it's just easier to help you remember. So I'll call it this is a prefix. We're going to select wine as the runner. Now we go to game options. We only want to concern ourselves with this last field here. So I'm going to browse for that folder that I just made, which is in games. This is a prefix. We'll select that. And it's also good to select 64-bit as the prefix architecture. And in the runner options, we can just pretty much leave that as it is for now. I'll go to save, and that should be there somewhere. There we are. Now we don't want to click play because nothing will happen. It'll just come up with an error. What we do want to do, and this is the part that actually turns it into a prefix, I want to click this little triangle next to the wine glass icon and go to wine configuration. And right now it's turning it into a prefix. Takes a few seconds. We should have a little thing come up. There it is. Wine configuration. And we can set this like we want. We can even choose what Windows version this emulates, but I'm just going to leave it as it is for now. So I'll just click OK. And if we go into that folder now, you can see we've got all the files and folders that make it a prefix. And then of course you can drag and drop your games in. Okay, so I've copied the game into the folder. And now let's add that to Lutris. What we're going to do now is we're going to do something very similar to what we did before. So we're going to do add locally installed game. In this case, revolt. I think it's re-volt. If I get the spelling absolutely perfect, Lutris should recognize it and put in the artwork. We're going to select wine as the runner. And in the game options, we're going to browse to the executable that starts the game. So let's see if I can remember. Games. This is a prefix. Drive C. Revolt, there it is. Revolt.exe. And we're almost there. Now for the working directory, what we want to do is basically have everything that's here except for the exe file. So I'll just copy that and paste it in there. Remove the exe. And for the prefix, it's that folder that we just created. So I'll paste that again. So basically everything before the drive C. And we'll save that. And now look at that, it even recognizes a game. So press play and it should work. Look at that. That's how you do it. Now I just need to find my gamepad because it's like all the way over there. Okay, and I'm gonna have to record this bit again because the microphone stopped working, so I was just going, and you didn't hear a word I was saying. So anyway, yeah. Now, I'm sure you don't want lots of shortcuts saying, this is a prefix, or winege, or whatever. So what we can do is we can hide them from the game library, like this, but any games that are in those prefixes will still work. So although Lutris recognizes some games and adds the appropriate artwork, on games that it doesn't recognize, as you can see here, it just leaves them blank. But you can, if you want to, use your own pictures or thumbnails or whatever you want to call them. I'm not going to do that right now because I've got other things to do, but I'm just putting it out there that the games that Lutris doesn't recognize don't necessarily need to have blank thumbnails. Okay, so we're going to play Midtown Madness in the beautiful city of Chicago, but first there's something else I gotta do. So yeah, Midtown Madness on modern systems is a little bit tricky to get going, but we can make this run absolutely fine on Lutris. First of all though, I'm going to need these files. I'm just going to put them in the same folder as the game's exe. And what this is a wrapper that emulates like the older Direct 3D cards and the older 3D effects cards. And we're going to need this on this game to make it actually. Now, normally if we were doing this on Windows, this is as far as we'd need to go. All we need to do is double click the exe and it would detect all these DLLs and load those in as well. Well, Wine handles these differently. We've got to actually tell it to load in these files, which is what I'm going to do now. So first of all, I'm going to add Midtown Madness to Lutris. I guess we can close that as well since we're not using that. And yes, Monster Truck Madness 2 is also one of the ones that I fixed with DG Voodoo. So we'll go Wine, and let's find the Midtown Madness executable. Wine GE, I think I put it in, didn't I? Yeah. You can see some games I've already added, but we don't need to concern ourselves with those. We need to concern ourselves with this. And we are Midtown. Okay, so let's do that. Let's give it its working directory. I don't know what the hell's going on here. You know the drill by now. Okay, and in the runner options, this is where we need to pay attention to what we're doing. So first of all, I want to make sure it's using the WineGE runner since that's the prefix that I've put it in. And we need to add some DLL overrides. And what those are, well, basically these files here. Now, I wish I could just drag and drop them in and it would just do that, but that's not a thing. So we have to add them manually. So first we have D3D8. .dll. Oh, well, we don't need to do .dll. And basically just copy the names of these DLLs into the overrides. So next we need D3DIMM. And finally, direct draw. It doesn't really matter which order we put these in. The next thing we need to do, we need to put N and B in for native and bulletin. Don't ask me what that means, but I know that's what we gotta do. I don't claim to be an expert. Right, so now we got all that. We can save. Okay, there's Midtown Madness, and hopefully, if everything went well, it should see DG Voodoo and everything should work. And yeah, there we go. Without this, it would look pretty messed up. I mean, we wouldn't be able to see any of this, and yeah, let's just put that all on maximum settings. Now, I don't know if I've got this configured
Now's
to
your
use
chance
my
to check out
gamepad
the
or
city
not.
of Chicago without pesky opponents or ticking timers. Where you want to go? What you gonna do?
I want to change that camera angle, that's what I want to do. There we go, that's better. Just going out for a... just going out for a Sunday drive in the beautiful city of Chicago. Anyway, we'll just quit out of that. Because there's more things I need to waffle on about. Want to make sure the microphone is working, and yes, it is good. Just one more thing I want to say, which I've only just this moment thought about. And that is, if you don't want the DG Voodoo watermark, you can actually turn that off. So, let's go back to the game we were just playing. And, if we click on the little triangle next to the wine glass icon, and we go to Wine Tricks, we can bring up the wine browser. Just ignore all this. Okay, select the default wine prefix and run Explorer, which should come up. Now, in here we'll find all the games that we've installed into this prefix, and we want to go into Midtown Madness. And this little app here, you can configure DG Voodoo to your liking, so we'll run that. And in the DirectX tab, we have an option to remove the watermark. I'm going to leave it on because that way I know it's working. But anyway, that's just something I thought I'd bring up. Now, some games, mainly older games, like Luxor 2 here, don't recognize modern systems. If I try to run it, we'll get this error, okay? It says it needs Windows 98 or higher. It doesn't recognize a Windows 10 environment. In Windows, you can change that going into the compatibility options, but here on Wine, we have to do it a bit differently. So here's what we do. Click on the thing next to the wine glass icon, and go to Wine Configuration, and we're basically going to make it run Luxor 2 in a Windows XP environment. So, in the Applications tab, we add the name of the game's exe file. So I'm just browsing for it here. Okay, here it is, Luxor 2 x86exe. And then I'll change this from Global Settings to Windows XP. And now, anytime we launch that game, it's going to do it in a Windows XP environment rather than a Windows 10 one, while everything else will be unaffected. So with that all set, if I click play now, it works. Now what's all that noise going on out there? Oh, the balls are coming. The balls are coming. Breathing intensifies. Okay, so that was Speedy Bloopy, running pretty well on Lutris. One question you might be asking though is, how did I get MIDI working? Well, one word, Fluid Synth. Now here on CashieOS, that's part of the gaming packages. So if you're using other distros, you're gonna have to install it yourself. But, and this does require the command line, but this is the only thing that does. There are a few commands that we need to enter and everything to make it work. So just 5 commands here, and I'm gonna go through what each of these do. So this first one just reloads everything, and then the next thing is to enable the Fluid Synth service. I mean, these are pretty self-explanatory. And then start the Fluid Synth service for the first time. Next thing though is we need to download a sound font, or otherwise we're not going to hear anything at all, which is what this command does. And after that's done, I would reboot the system just to make sure. And then finally, we need to edit the configuration file, which is what this command is, and this is what has to be put into line 2. And if you want to know what that actually looks like, there is a nano. Let's see if we can just zoom up a little bit so you can see more clearly. And that's pretty much it. Also, again, after you've done this, I would reboot the system just to make sure that everything's gone through and everything. But yeah, now I'm going to talk about the last thing, DOS games. So, of course, if you want to do any DOS gaming, well, first we're going to need to install the DOSBox runner. That's pretty much how we install the Wine runner. So we go to Preferences, Runners, DOSBox should be in here somewhere. There it is, DOSBox. We'll just go and do that, so it installs DOSBox, and yeah, that's pretty much done. We don't really need to mess about with anything else in there. We could do Open Gaming full screen, but I'm not going to do that for now. Anyway, we'll just close that, and we should have, yeah, there it is, DOSBox. Of course, we haven't got any games in there yet, so let's go and do that. I think first, to just make things easy, we're going to install Fast Food Dizzy. And it's very much the same process as installing Windows games. So go to add locally installed game, give it a name, okay, Fast Food Dizzy. We're going to select the DOSBox game options, okay, we need to point it to this file, well actually this file. And for the working directory, we do the same thing as we did with the Windows games, basically all of this excluding the exe file, and that's it. That's all we need to do. We can save that. We don't even need to worry about prefixes or anything like that. So if I double click that, it will just work. As you can see. Now excuse me, I'm gonna play a bit of Fast Food Dizzy. Yeah, when they said fast food, they weren't kidding around, they really meant it. Now, usually DOSBox is good with ramping up the speed when it comes to the more demanding games like Doom. As you can see here, it set its speed to maximum, so I can shoot demons at full frames per second, but the thing is, on some games that really want more speed than 3000 cycles per second, it can be really slow because it doesn't detect that as a game that needs more speed. So, for instance, The Incredible Machine 2, let's just run that. And this is taking way longer than it should. I can move the mouse around and do stuff, but, yeah, this should be here by now, and as you can see, it's sure taking its time.
Phew! Sierra!
And now we've got to wait some more.
You know, we could sure use a little light in here. Ah, that's much better. Hi, I'm Professor Tim. Welcome to the Incredible Machine 2.
Now we'll wait some more. $10,000 years later. We will get to a puzzle in a minute, I swear. I haven't actually timed how long this takes. Oh, we're at the sign-in screen. So let's just select a puzzle here. Fjord. So we're gonna do this, hopefully. Well, you can see it's lagging quite a bit and it's not really all that good, so we can fix that. Also, if I can get my mouse to come out of the DOSBox window and close this. So in my previous video I said you should edit a configuration file and all that. Well, turns out there's a much easier way to do this. So we'll go to configure, and in the game options in the command line arguments tab we put -C cycles equals max, and that's all we need to do to make DOSBox run at its full speed. So if we do it now, see how much faster this is, and I haven't had to speed any of this up. Oh, accidentally clicked stop in DOSBox there. I mean in Lutris there. Yeah, but just look at how much more responsive this is. This is how it should be. I think we need magnifying glass there. But anyway, that's just about it for this video. So, as I always say, until next time, goodbye.